Jordan Poole is the new starting point guard for the Washington Wizards. But how can the Washington Wizards set him up for success? I have three ways how they can do so. Next on Locked On Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Brandon Scott again, and I appreciate you guys making Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. And tonight's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, everybody. A lot to talk about tonight. Jordan Poole is officially the starting point guard for the Washington Wizards going into the future, or at least for the next 3 years, that is. And how can the Wizards set him up for success? I have three ways how they can definitely help him assimilate into his new role in the Wizards uniform. And then we're going to look at another question. If Marvin Bagley III has a nice or a good season, would you reconsider him being a long-term piece here in DC? We'll ask that question and kind of look at that. So let's get into the first topic of the night. Jordan Poole. He is officially the starting point guard for the Washington Wizards. This was reported by Bajan Todd of Monumental Sports, who reported that Jordan Poole is going to be the starting point guard in DC this season. And who knows, could be the long-term solution there. So how can the Wizards set him up for success? Obviously, look, full-time starter at point guard. How can the Wizards help him be successful? I have three ways how they can do that. All right, let's get into number one. Number one, let him do his thing. We know what he can do. He is a scoring-minded guard. Now, obviously, with him being the starting point guard, there's other areas of his game and certain things as a being a full-time starter at point guard that he's going to have to kind of assimilate into his game. Now, we know he's got vision. He's shown that he can definitely be very, very active as being a passer. So I definitely see him, as far as his assist numbers definitely going up. And I definitely see, definitely want to see him be more pass first to a certain degree. Now, look, utilize what he can do, which is being a scorer. Definitely let him be that scorer. But, definitely, want to see him more and more assimilate to being, being that pass first point guard to a certain degree. You know what I mean? Now, because we know the number one option, scoring option for the Washington Wizards is going to be Kyle Kuzma. So that takes a little bit of pressure out of him, but still let him do his thing. Definitely feed off what he does best, which is score. And when he scores, with his ability to attack the basket, he's going to be able to, and he kind of goes into my second point, but with his ability to attack the basket, with that speed, with his ability to penetrate the paint, with his ability to collapse defenses, it kind of goes into my second point, which is give him the best lineup to distribute, be that passing point guard. And looking at what a potential starting five would be now that we know that Jordan Poole is the starting point guard, right now, two guard, ESPN has Corey Kispert right now as the starting two guard. Now, to me, Bilal Coulibaly, you start him. With him being a lottery pick, with him going into, his second year of this rebuild, second year in the league overall, you definitely want to see him show some progression in year two, and you do that by starting him. Now, he can play two guard. Now, obviously, the future, what does the future hold for Bilal Coulibaly? He's going to end up being a small forward. Right now he's 6'8", he's about to hit 6'9" when it's all said and done. And who knows? He could hit 6'10" because he is still very young. He's still growing. So, but to me, his future spot with the Washington Wizards is being that wing, being a small forward. And obviously, Kyle Kuzma is holding that spot down for right now. But the long-term vision is Bilal Coulibaly. But look, he can play two guard, and you put him in the same backcourt with Jordan Poole. Look, Jordan Poole has shown progress on the defensive end. Now, when he first came to DC, was just a terrible defender. But in the second half of the season, especially working underneath head coach Brian Keefe, he showed a lot of progress on the defensive end. But it's not to say he's not a lockdown guy, So in the backcourt with a scoring first guard, you want to have, whether if your two guards score first, you want your point guard. For example, John Wall and Bradley Beal. John Wall was the better defender, as opposed to Bradley Beal was the more polished scorer, even though John Wall could hold his own. So looking at a backcourt with Jordan Poole, you need somebody who's going to be able to defend in that backcourt. And I think Bilal Coulibaly is the best option, because if you put Corey Kispert in there, you could potentially have the same situation you had last year with Tyus Jones and Jordan Poole, where you got a couple of guards where neither one of them are lockdown guards as far as defensively, and is going to set them up for mismatches and get abused. They're going to attack that weakness, man. So you got to have somebody who's a defender. So that's why I think that you put Bilal Coulibaly at 2 guard. But get to the point, Alex Sarr is probably going to be the power forward, but give him the best lineup. Kyle Kuzma is going to be that scorer, and he's going to eat at small forward. And that's why I think he's definitely going to get some consideration for All-Star. Whether it's it's not going to be a starter. Obviously, a lot of it has to do with team performance. That was a question I asked Kuz at Media Day about a potential All-Star berth, and he admitted himself that look, a lot of that has to do with team performance overall. But he could get in as a reserve, especially if he averages, definitely takes a little boost in points per game as opposed to last year. Even though we know he's at 20 points a night guy, but if he averages 25, I mean, we're going to be a little better, especially the first half of the season. Now, when we start making moves with some of these veterans, it's going to be a younger team. A lot more. Most of our wins are going to be in the first half of the season. Second half is going to be like last year. It's going to be a youth movement and see what young pieces are part of the future. So, give him the best lineup, and kind of put another point in the best lineup. Yes, Kyle Kuzma is going to be that scorer. It's going to take a little pressure off of him. But look at the possibilities with Jonas Valanciunas. With his ability, they're going to be one heck of a pick and roll tandem. I'm trying to tell you, pick and pop. I mean, Jonas knows that's his role. Again, Jonas Valanciunas came into the situation in DC knowing what his role is. Not only being a mentor, but a guy who's going to be very active in pick and roll with Jordan Poole and pick and pop. Jordan Poole's going to be able to, with pick and pop, sit back there and hit those threes, man. So like I said, the possibilities are endless as far as, giving him the best lineup to succeed. Now, how does Bilal Coulibaly and Alex Sarr develop while being in the same starting 5 as Jordan Poole, Kyle Kuzma, and Jonas Valanciunas? Get him those touches. And that's what I'm saying, that let Jordan Poole do his thing, attack the paint, take, become the focal point of the defense, and really get those touches, hit that ball outside and hit Bilal Coulibaly for those 3-pointers. Alex Sarr, he can shoot those 3-pointers, but they get better by playing. They get better by getting those touches, man. So that's what I'm saying. Give him the best lineup, because the best lineup, another thing to kind of look at when I say the best lineup, look, if you want him to be a long-term piece here in DC, then developing, and not only, developing Bilal and Alex Sarr in the starting 5, but having them build that chemistry with Jordan Poole now. Because if they're going to be together for the future, if that is indeed the vision for the Washington Wizards, for Will Dawkins, for Michael Winger, for Brian Keefe, then you want them to build that chemistry now. And it comes with just playing together. And that's why I think it's pivotal that they start Bilal Coulibaly and Alex Sarr. Definitely let Kyle Kuzma do his thing being that scorer, but give him the best lineup to succeed. All right, point number 3 real quick, which is give him the rope to make mistakes. Look, first full year as the point guard, he's going to make mistakes. How do you get better? Learning from those mistakes, working through those mistakes. Last year, yes, he had a roller coaster season, right? But the second half of the season, you saw much improved. You saw that potential that we saw in Jordan Poole when he came over from Golden State, that all-star potential. We saw it in the second half of the season, whether it was when he was 6-man or when he was relegated to starting point guard when Tyus Jones went down. We saw the potential with him having all-star potential. He's a year or 2 away from his prime, so he is close to his prime. You definitely want to capitalize on that. And that's what I'm saying. And all 3 of these points kind of feed off each other, because if you really want to get the best out of him, you got to build chemistry, especially with guys who could potentially be his teammates for years to come. Looking at Bilal, looking at Alex Sarr, Kyle Kuzma, he's going to set Kyle Kuzma up. I'm telling you, it's going to be money, and especially if you look at the pick and roll, pick and pop with Jonas Valanciunas. I think that's the best starting 5. Now, it's not to say that Corey Kispert couldn't start. Like I said, he is spot starter. He's shown that he could start. Could he be the answer to guard this season? Yeah, but Bilal's the future, and it's not to say that Corey Kispert's not the future. Like I said, I've been a big catalyst of keeping Corey Kispert, but I think but if you look at priority right now, Will Dawkins is going to prioritize the guys he drafted, right? And you best believe if they look at who do they want to give that starting exposure to? What is the priority? The leg up is going to be Bilal Coulibaly versus as opposed to Corey Kispert, because that is the first draft pick under Will Dawkins. And look, every GM comes in and they prioritize their own people, so that it is what it is. So could I see Corey Kispert start? I can see that scenario, but like I said, you got to put the best defensive team out there. And Bilal Coulibaly is an above average defender. You put him in tandem with Alex Sarr. Kyle Kuzma, has he had times where he struggled defensively? Yes, but overall he has shown the energy just like Jordan Poole. And a lot of that has to do with head coach Brian Keefe. They got the best out of these guys, especially defensively. All the defensive the efficiencies that we had under Wesley Sell Jr. You didn't see that under Brian Keith. So they're going to be a better defensive team, especially when you throw Jonas Valanciunas there too, because he's always been a Wizards killer. Now he could be a guy that helps the Wizards, right? So he's a guy who's definitely going to push Alex Sarr, especially in practice, but training camp, but especially in games, man. Definitely he's going to be a big catalyst. With they're going to form a nice front court tandem too. So like I said, they're going to be better this year, guys. But those are the three ways that if the Wizards want to set Jordan Poole up for success this season, being the starting point guard. The three ways to do so is, again, number one, let him do his thing, being that score-minded guy. Let him collapse defenses and set people up on the outside. Number two, give him the best lineup to distribute. Give him the best defensive lineup but also the best lineup to not only get the most out of Kyle Kuzma as a scorer and Jonas Valanciunas with a pick and roll and a pick and pop, but also you have to develop, right? You're still developing, it's still a rebuild. So getting those touches to Bilal, getting those touches out. Number three, giving him the road to make mistakes. Let him believe that he can make those mistakes. Give him some leeway. Give him some rope, man. He's going to make mistakes. And that really, and I'm looking at the fan base too. Look, let him make those mistakes. At times we can be hard on the players, man. And like I said, he got smoked from the fan base. He got smoked from most sports media outlets in the first half of last season, and rightfully so because he struggled. But look, give him his flowers when it's due. Like I said, a lot of people did, and I get it. Hate him or love him. These three ways you set him for success. Even if you're in the camp of trade Jordan Poole when the time comes, which I think he's a long-term piece. But like I said, I definitely respect the opinion that if you think that they're going to bring his value up and try to move him, I respect that opinion. I think that, look, we're in a situation where we win regardless. You have a player that hasn't hit his prime yet who has proven that he could play at a high level. So if you retain him and make him the future piece, then you win in that scenario because you have a player that's proven he can play at all-star level. But if you decide to move him when his value is at highest, you're going to get some assets back. So it's a win-win situation with the Washington Wizards and Jordan Poole. So if you're in that camp of trading him, it best behooves you to set him up for success because that's how you get his trade value up. And if you're in the camp that I'm in, which is, look, you got a player who's proven that he could be a future all-star. It hasn't hit his prime yet. You strike gold, man. I'm telling you right now, you got a guy who's proven he can do it. You roll with that, especially if you look at a potential backcourt with him and Bob Carrington. That's money long-term. I mean, Bob Carrington is that scorer, man, and he's proven he can play off ball. So, we're gonna get to the next question for everybody. And again, kind of look at the itinerary coming up because preseason game is right around the corner this weekend on Sunday. So, again, but before we get on that, tonight's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Now, hey NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You can start with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. There's FanDuel.com. All right, everybody, let's get into it. So the question is tonight, and this is kind of a topic that I've covered a few times in the past, but I'm gonna cover it again. We often talk about a lot of these veteran guys, the timeline 3 years, but some of these guys who could be traded this season. Look at that, potentially Jonas Valanciunas, Michael Brogdon. I definitely think is a shoo-in. He's gonna be gone. But we talk about a little bit about Marvin Bagley III, right? Well, he's an expiring contract. He's a young player where he didn't exactly pan out in Sacramento, being a lottery pick. He didn't pan out in Detroit, rebuilding team. A lot of the complaints about him was low motor. Come over to the Wizards, man. He has shown that when he's motivated, he can have that high motor. He can be very productive. He can be that 3-level scorer who can not only contribute in rebounding and scoring in the paint, but hitting the mid-range shot, hitting that 3-point shot. So the question for everybody tonight is, if he plays well, do you still look at him as a future piece? And I would say yes. Marvin Bagley III is another guy where, sometimes change of scenery helps. Sometimes the grass is greener on the other side. And sometimes another man's trash could be another man's treasure. And not to call Marvin Bagley III trash, because I'm a big fan. I've been a big fan of him since going back to Duke. I felt that, Sacramento could have succeeded, but, everything comes down to fit. Tyrese Halliburton couldn't fit in Sacramento. The best fit was Sabonis. So, like I said, everything comes down to fit. Everything comes down to coaching. Your supporting cast. There's so many factors, man, that people really don't think about when it comes to, how do you set up a young player for success? We often look at, all right, a guy was drafted number 2 overall, and automatically he's supposed to put out all-star numbers. And people don't realize that, everybody progresses, everybody develops at a different pace. And all those different factors really you have to consider when you try to develop a young guy like Marvin Bagley III. Did they have the right situation for him in Sacramento? Now, it's not that he's guiltless. You got to play when you give him the minutes. But I think that DC is giving him a chance to really show what he can do. That he can be that 3-level scorer, that he can be very productive when he's motivated, when he has the right coaching staff, which I believe we do, when he has the right surrounding cast of vets and young players, which I believe we do. So you guys let me know. I'm gonna put the poll out there. Also, before we roll, I told you guys that I did release my questions and answers for Media Day on X, aka Twitter. And I was gonna put it on YouTube. I forgot. I'm gonna do it right after this video. So every question that I asked and every answer that I got from the players and head coach Brian Keefe on Media Day, I will put them on YouTube right after this video. Also, I'm gonna put a poll out. Would you consider Marvin Bagley III a future piece? So, all right, looking forward real quick. I was going to cover why people would be skeptical right now. That was really the topic of the night. But I was gonna go ahead and put this video out about Jordan Poole being the point guard, and we're gonna do it the live video tomorrow. So we're gonna actually touch base on that. Why fans should be skeptical and why they shouldn't. And like I said, I'm definitely going to give you guys reasons why you should definitely not be skeptical with the new regime as opposed to Tommy Shepard and Ernie Grunfeld. I think that we finally do have a new sheriff in town, and this new regime is doing things that we have not seen being done probably any time in the Washington Wizards history. So they're really rebuilding this thing the right way. So I'm going to convince a lot of you skeptics tomorrow night. So again, real quick. So again, appreciate you guys, man. So we're gonna go ahead and call it a night. Do it short and simple tonight. You guys get in the comment section. Let me know. Are you excited about Jordan Poole being the starting point guard? And do you agree with the 3 ways that the Washington Wizards can set him up for success? And if you guys have your own reasons or other ways that the Wizards can set him up for success, definitely let your boy know in the comments section. So again, I will see you guys tomorrow night. Everybody enjoy your evening. Hail to the Wizards and peace.